Hello.
What's up, brother?
Just well, crazy day, isn't it?
No kidding. So I'm still getting set up, and waiting for Asobs to get here. And as soon as he gets here, we should be ready to go. I'm making this live right now in public on YouTube. And I sent him the invite, so we'll just wait for him to get here, and then we'll get started. You should be sleeping out. What time is it where you are?
It's midnight.
Oh my goodness. All right.
But I have a flexi work hours, so that's okay.
Okay. All right, good. All right, let me just double check on what's going on with our boy here.
Rex actually just sent me he found a code change at 5:02. But that's PM, but that's PM my time. So well, he's definitely still on it. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was 3 days ago actually, some code change, but you cannot really see much in on Finder itself.
Well, we're going to talk about all that. I'm just letting everybody on Twitter know right now. And let's see. Yeah, whenever I do these like this and I do it like kind of last minute, it's a little weird because not a lot of people were prepared for it. But that's okay. I'll let everybody know, and then we'll get some people in here. All right, so I just sent that out on Twitter. A couple people to notify over in Telegram. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right, I guess we are live because I see people coming in already. What's going on, everybody in the chat? Thank you for being here. Please, as you already know, hit the like button on the way in and share this video if you could on Twitter or wherever else you're going to go. We're waiting for Asobs. I sent him the link, and I'm checking in on Discord to see where he is. Make sure he'll but I mean, if he's delayed, we can still get started. I just want to try to give him a chance to get here. Give me 1 minute. All right. Anyway, we have right now Mr. YoGabba, who's been with us before. Welcome back, my friend. Glad to see you.
Hello, nice to be here again. Well, I wish it was in a little bit better circumstances.
I know. I feel like every time I talk to somebody now, it's because of some big catastrophe that just happened, and it's like one after the other. It's getting a little tiresome.
Well, it's basically Monday in Loon community, right? It's nothing new. New week, new drama. So
yeah, well, yeah, it could be that. Don't say that, because every Monday we'll get something different. So for Yogava, so everybody knows, it's like midnight where he is right now. I'm going to try to, keep this as short as possible, although I guess we have some things to talk about. So I'll leave it up to you, whenever you start getting tired or whatever. And if you guys have questions in the chat, feel free to put them in there. Now, you understand when I'm talking to these guys, I can't always be back and forth, but I'll try to get to some of your questions as well. We're waiting for Asobs. Whenever he pops in, but we'll see what happens. So I want to say, what's going on, Long Lover 69, Peter, Loyal, everybody in the chat. Thanks for being here. I want to say, let's start at the beginning. And some people might think the beginning was overnight when all of a sudden this thing crashed. But the beginning was, Asobs will be here any second. The beginning was actually a little while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically, I think like around a week ago, even a little bit more, I think, gonna be close to 10 days. I messaged you, I messaged Asobs that I found some stuff which looks well, quite worrying. Basically after Terraport launch, right? I'm a web developer, so well, for me it's normal, right? If there is a new website, well, there is something cool or I'm interested in it, I just press F12 and well, look through different stuff, right? Through code and everything. So I started to look through Terraport code, and first thing I found was list of all investor addresses from the pre-sales. So that's like made me well wonder, like why? Like it's very bad practice to put a hard-coded, well, basically data. So then I realized the application is basically just a front-end client. Oh, we have a Asobs with us.
Yes, he is.
And well, basically after wallet addresses, I noticed there is a part of the application which shouldn't be exposed to public. That was Redux toolkit. And so for people who don't know what is it, it's basically a state management in React. So if you change something in application, for example, let's say banner changes or text on the website, this allows it application to change this part of the website without refreshing everything. So that's basically the point for using React. So you develop something called single page application to well make it work faster and nicer user experience. Everything basically trying to minimize refreshing of the whole website. So that's in a short way how it works. It's a little bit more complicated under the mask, but that's not really point here. And the other thing I found, there was some work in progress admin panel, which was accessible without any authentication. There was no really functionality in it, but I also didn't really like dig much more in the code because first, it's not really easy on like when you start doing that on your side. So to like really audit the code, you need access to code which is before it being compiled by something called Webpack. So again, how it works, you develop application in React, right? And then this Webpack, it transforms it to like the simple JavaScript and HTML code, which browser can understand. But in a process, you end up with one file with a lot of strange things that you can't really, without the access to the source code, you can't really get much out of it, what it does. You still can get some informations, but for a normal human being, without spending hours going line by line, it's really hard to actually understand what the code does. Okay. So that's basically where my investigation ended. Then I shared this information with some people in community I trust, among others, you and Asobs, and like say, like ask what to do, like what do you think about this? And I know a few of those people reached out to Rexys with those things because, well, we are not really on a speaking terms, not the best friends, but at the same time, like they asked me, like, can they share it? And I said, like, well, if you want to, feel free to, right? It's my intention here is not really to destroy it, but that's basically things which can cause people lose money. And that's a situation we are in right now.
Asobs, glad to have you here. I didn't mean to just ignore you, but I didn't also want to cut in on YoGabba. So I'm
No
glad
worries.
to have you here, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Can you guys hear me all right? Everything good?
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Awesome.
Just so you know, next time you come in, if you're going to come in with me and YoGabba, you got to shave your head.
Yeah, apparently I saw them coming in here. I was like, dang, I feel excluded. I don't know what's going on here. I'm missing out.
Overdressed.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, I apologize for being a couple minutes late there. My wife needed something real quick before I hopped on. So got that taken care of, and I'm squared away, ready to go for a bit with you guys. So
no worries. That's priority. Yeah, so both of these guys have been digging into stuff, and YoGabba set it off with some things like he's talking about that he kind of found, shared with me, shared with Asobs, and shared with some other people in the community, some other developers and such that might be able to make heads or tails of it. And Asobs has been doing quite a bit of digging himself over the past day or so after this hack. I guess we're still calling it a hack, but we'll get to that. After this hack kind of happened. And I want to dive into some of those things that you found. I kind of want to dive into what everybody found, because it seems to be coordinating with each other, But YoGabba, I want to ask you, what made you decide to start looking into this to begin with? Like, what set that off?
To be fair, how the pre-sale was handled. Like, I'm basically following many different projects, right? I'm not really invested in Lunk anymore since December. But what I raised a first red flag for me was how the pre-sale was handled. Not because I believe at this point they actually have any malicious intent. It's just basically we are living, it's a Web3, right? You can automate everything. You can make it connect your wall by connecting your wallet to the website. It's not really hard to code integration of the wallet. So that it was handled manually, that basically made me watch this project, because I was curious how it's gonna develop further, because this first part wasn't very well handled, in my opinion, as a professional, right, in the field. So I was curious how the end result gonna look, and that's basically it.
What could have been done better? Like, what do you think they kind of messed up with the
first, like, if you want to launch a project, right, you can use a launchpad, which for example, recently I think on a Camelot Dex, that was, if I'm correct, it was Blur, which was being launched, right? So there was a full transparency when people were buying coins in pre-sale. You've seen how much was actually bought, and there was like a third party which was handling it, right? They perform an audit on developers behind the Blur, and basically they said, okay, wow, we think everything is okay, so we're gonna handle your launch, and you could pre-buy it, I think, for 2 weeks through the launchpad. So that's basically, in my opinion at least, that's the correct way to do it.
Okay. And once you came across all these things that you kind of shared with everybody, I don't think that you shared it directly with Rexy, because like you said, you guys aren't exactly on speaking terms for whatever reason.
It's a long story, but yeah.
Yeah, well, whatever. But to your knowledge, it was brought to his attention, yes?
Yes, basically I shared it with 2 other people than you that I trust and know they wouldn't do anything malicious with it. Well, you couldn't really do anything malicious with this part of code, because it was publicly accessible code for everyone. one of them was a member of a L1 task force, and other one, well, I would rather not disclose because well, I
Yeah,
simply
no,
didn't
that's,
ask.
yeah, that's fine. But I mean, yeah, anybody who has any knowledge, if they want to volunteer that, that's up to them, but let's not throw everybody's name out there. Some things sometimes need to stay in confidence for different reasons. But as far as you know, somebody did relay this information to Rexy pretty much like you said, 10 days or whatever it was ago when you actually found all this and you brought it to everybody's attention. It was also brought to Rexy's attention.
Yeah, that was during the day of the launch, basically a few hours after launch, right? Because I started to look through it. I said like, fuck, yeah, that's red flags, and maybe it's good idea to well get a second opinion how harmful it can actually be.
Yeah. Asobs, this was also brought to your, was it brought to your attention also like at launch kind of back then that some things looked a little off maybe?
So for me personally, so I'm just gonna give some backstory real quick.
Sure.
I saw some red flags around Terraport going back till mid-February is when they really started to show up for me. And I started giving some warnings out, going out to some people. And at the time, there wasn't enough to really come forward with anything. It was bits and pieces that just didn't quite add up, but I couldn't explain what was going on. Things just seemed kind of off. And then I ended up having some people send me that Medium post that ended up being put together, and started to actually seriously look through it just a couple of days ago and going, whoa, wait a second, there's a list of all these wallets, what's going on here? And started digging further at that point. But as soon as the token launched, I didn't initially start thinking, okay, there's a ton of red flags other than like, why is there no price history on their token chart? Because I put that together within learning. I went from zero knowledge about JavaScript to being able to do that myself on my website within a couple of days with like $50. So I was kind of like, okay, why is this, multi-million-dollar company not able to put this together? That was just something that's like, that's not necessarily like a concern for user safety. That's more of this just seems kind of off. But a couple of days later, somebody sent me that Medium article, ended up reaching out, getting the list of wallets, digging further, and found a lot more at that point. And then talked to Rexy's on Thursday, brought up some concerns to him. I'll be releasing that conversation with him hopefully later today if I get around to making a video, so people can see how he responded to some of the concerns. But yeah, that's kind of the brief summary, I guess, of how this has been piecing together for me.
Yeah, it seems like everyone who has reached look, I don't want this to come off like and I don't think either of you guys want it to come off like anybody's throwing Rexy under the bus. Quite honestly, we don't know exactly what happened here yet. We don't know how it happened necessarily. We don't know who was involved. We don't know who knew what, or whatever. And let's make that clear, right? But we do want to know the answers to those questions, and so it's kind of like trying to put together some circumstantial evidence or whatever, and seeing if any of it makes any sense at all. That Medium article, I read that Medium article is what? Do we even know yet? Did anybody come forward and say I wrote that Medium article? Everybody's smiling. Somebody knows something. If you guys don't want to say, that's fine. But I mean, do we know who wrote it or no?
I do. I think multiple people know who wrote it.
Okay. All right. I'm the only weirdo who doesn't apparently know. I mean, I have my ideas who wrote it, but I'm not putting it out there. If the person doesn't want to admit it, then that's fine. All right. So everybody suspected this, that, and the other thing. Various people brought it to Rexy. Everybody kind of got the same response, it is sounding like, from Rexy, and that was, this isn't true. It's, potentially FUD being spread by such and such. Maybe somebody's trying to make stuff up to get us, kind of thing. But basically there was no acknowledgement, nothing. I haven't heard anybody say, I brought this to Rexy and he said, oh my goodness, let me check into that. Let me see if there's any validity to what you're saying. And I would think, and this is just my opinion, I would think if you've got multiple people coming to you with the same thing, that maybe you would want to say, let me check that out and see what everybody's talking about. Did anybody get any kind of positive anything from Rexy? Like, thanks for bringing that to me and let me look into it.
I haven't heard of anything like that, unfortunately. I mean, from my experience, and I don't want, before I say this, I just don't want anybody to trust me. Like I said, I'm going to be releasing the full conversation. Rexy's asked, he gave me permission to share. Excuse me, I slept for 3 hours last night, so words are hard right now. But he gave me permission to share the conversation as long as I didn't take it out of context. So to respect his wishes, I'm going to share the entire conversation. I don't want anybody to just believe a little snippet or whatever. Everybody's going to be able to see the entire conversation and judge it for themselves. But one sentence that I do want to highlight, because I can't repeat the entire conversation I had here. We'd go through it for quite a while. But one thing that he did say when I brought up a concern to him regarding a discrepancy of millions of Terra tokens, he said, and I quote, "From our perspective, what you have identified, we are fully aware of and requires no further action." That was his response, instead of, yeah, please send over the transactions, or yes, we would look forward to investigating it. We can't promise any actions. Like those kind of things I think would be more reasonable responses, instead of the we're aware and we don't think that there's a problem here, essentially, of what he was saying. So unfortunately, that's kind of the response that I got. And it sounds like other people I've talked to have gotten similar responses.
I guess you can, depending on what you want to believe anyway, you can pretty much make whatever you want out of that response, right? Because if Rexy, this is all hypothetical, right? If Rexy knew something and just wanted to blow it off, he might give that response. But also, if Rexy didn't know anything and people were lying to him about what was going on, because Rexy isn't a coder, right? He had people do this for him. And so if those people were being a little sus or whatever, and were even trying to pull the wool over Rexy's eyes, maybe that's what they told him. Maybe they told him, oh yeah, that's nothing, that's this, that's that. And I don't know that he would know the difference, or if that was true or not. So and again, I'm not on either side of this. I don't know. We need to get more information. I think it's awesome that Rexy allowed you to present that whole conversation, because very many people, and we've seen it very often, will put out little snippets of things and take it out of context and spin whatever kind of narrative they want to spin by just giving you a little section of something. So to put the whole thing out there and then let everybody kind of make up their own mind on it, that's awesome. So I want to ask you this. For anybody who's listening now or might be listening later who still doesn't really know exactly what happened, one of you guys run me through exactly what happened that brought us to this hack, and what actually happened in the hack. What did we lose?
So basically what happened, right? As far as, I was discussing that with multiple people today. One of them being Rex from Terra Rebels Discord, who, he stood up to today for, basically everyone involved, and used his connections with different sexes to, block the wallets. Because what happened, someone managed to empty liquidity pools. So that I'm not sure how much exactly it was. I've seen different numbers during the day, but it was like, first I've seen 2 millions, the other a little bit later, I think it was almost $4 million in LUNC and USTC. So we don't know yet how, right? There is many different people investigating it, but it could be an inside job. It could be someone getting access to admin accounts in some way. Like right now, it's too little information to know what actually happened. Like only thing we know, and that I'm almost sure about, there was no security audit prior the launch. That's bad, right? Especially that it was often stated by Rexys, among other people, during the AMAs, They are in talks with Certic already and working on an audit. So, well, that's basically what we know right now. There are some Rex actually messaged me about this before our chat right now, that they found some wallets which were coded directly into a Terraport code. They managed to get it out of encrypted contract they could find on chain, but we don't know how they ended up there. It could be someone, like I said, getting access to their accounts, and that would be a hack then, right? And basically putting this malicious code. But at the same time, there was no code changes for past, I think, 3 days. The last code change with the contract happened 3 days ago. That might be wrong because, like I said, I personally didn't look much through it. Just checked few operations which happened there. So until basically some, I think, entities which are specialized in security breaches look into it, we won't get of any like the 100% sure information.
Okay. Asobs, we were talking a little earlier, and as you've been peeking around, doing your sleuth thing that you do so well, you've come across some things now. YoGabba's talking about these wallets that were, I guess, hard coded in, and some people have said that these were the wallets actually that everything was kind of transferred to, maybe. In the hack, all the liquidity was moved to maybe these particular wallets, and there were wallets that were already on the code. Is this what you kind of found as well, or did you find other things?
So I mainly was focusing on some other issues, or in my opinion, issues, I should say. And that's mainly what I talked to Rexy's about, was some other concerning things that I came across, things that caused me concern. And not necessarily around the wallets involved in the hack, but just some other discrepancies that just didn't make a lot of sense. So, I mean, an example is from the marketing fund, there's supposed to be 70% that's locked up for, I believe it's either 12 or 24 months. I could actually pull it up real quick, 24 months. And so 70% out of 100 million tokens means 7 million tokens.
Let me stop you just for a second. By the way, I've given you both access that if you want to share anything on the screen, you can feel free to go ahead and do that. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No problem there. Yeah, so anyways, 70 million tokens are supposed to be locked up, but from what I was able to find, it looks like it's closer to 62 million. So there was a discrepancy there of a few million tokens. And that's where I started diving deeper, like, okay, where are these tokens? What's going on with this marketing fund? Where's this money going? And essentially found multiple wallets with millions of tokens that end up getting distributed to them that funneled together into a single wallet at the end of the day. And they also got tokens from 3 different wallets that were involved in the private sale, 3 wallets that got money from the marketing fund, and ended up being close to 14 million Terra tokens that ended up being funneled into this wallet that just don't match what should be occurring. And so there's some of that kind of stuff, but that's not connected to the hat. That's a different concerning thing. That seems like those wallets were manually added to the list. So maybe there's some involvement if it is somebody on the inside that did something. But again, as YoGabba said, there's just not enough information right now. There's basically everything's a possibility, and we don't know what's happening because maybe their whole security system ended up being compromised. Somebody went ahead and edited the list manually and also did the hack, and it's some outside force that had control for a while of different functions. We just don't know what's going on here.
YoGabba, was the code open at some point at the beginning to the point where anybody could have went in and added these wallets or made some changes to the code? Was it open to the public to that degree?
I don't believe so, because to do this, you would need access to a source code and then basically add it there and build the application. That's how React works, right? You add it in a source code, then you have to basically run a build command, and then you're getting a code which can be hosted on a website. So, but what could happen? Someone basically could, but that's now just pure speculation, right? someone could have access to the hosting and just basically relaunch the app with changes without committing them on a GitHub. So the rest of the team didn't see that happen. So, but like I said, that's pure speculation right now. But from like a access to the code that every single one of us have, I don't believe it's possible to just add extra wallets there or anything.
So they had to already be there.
Yeah.
Right. Who wrote this code for Terraport?
I think that's people behind Lung Italia, but I see they partnered with Terra Civita around the time when the development of Terraport started. I'm not sure, is it all of them or is someone just connected to them? But that's as far as I got with, well, figuring out who is actually behind Terraport.
Do either of you have any speculation, any thoughts on why this code is not open? Why it's kind of not being shared?
That's, I think, just a business decision, right? If you develop application, it's different if you work on a blockchain code, like, for example, Classic Core and everything. That's the code you want to have public because everyone can add to it, everyone can review it. But if you develop application, which is basically your business, I personally don't see a reason to make it open source, right? Unless you actually want it to be open source. Because basically, if they made it open source, right, I could just copy it, change the design, and launch another DEX in a matter of a week. So that's nothing strange. It wasn't open source.
All right.
Maybe it's not the best practice in crypto because many people believe everything in crypto should be open source, but I personally disagree with this.
Yeah, some people are making a big deal out of it, wondering why it is or why it isn't. And I was just wondering if that's standard practice or if it really doesn't matter one way or the other. I don't want to ignore the chat. I know that there are some people saying some things in here. Isis says, do you believe they've raised 1 million in order to fund the project, or the funds for developing were raised from a fake token pre-sale? I mean, how do you really know?
I think, I don't know the amount of money they raised, but I'm not 100% convinced the numbers we've seen during the pre-sale actually happened. I think there was a little bit building hype there with artificially changing numbers to be higher, but that's, again, personal opinion.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Asobs?
Yeah, I think, let me think how to word this one real quick. From looking into some of the stuff on the blockchain, it appears there are more than, so in the pre-sale or the private sale, I should say, the very first sale that they had, they were supposed to have 40 million tokens in that sale at the lower price of 2.5 cents, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2.5 cents. In reality, on the blockchain, there's over 40 million tokens that are labeled as private sale, supposedly as high as 70 million. So almost twice as many as they're supposed to be, which just raises obviously a lot of questions as to why are there so many tokens labeled in that shouldn't be there? What's going on here? How much money was actually raised? Like, it just brings up so many questions. So it's really hard to give a solid answer beyond the fact that what was said in the white paper as to what was supposed to happen during all these different rounds of sales doesn't seem to match what is on the blockchain.
Okay. I'm getting all kind of there are people in some of the friends of my friends are in the chat and they're sending me some direct messages on my phone. So I'm paying attention to what you guys are saying, but I'm also getting some things over here, which say it's strange that TCV or Terraport don't want to make the code public. It could be because maybe they want time to, destroy some evidence if in fact that is a problem, but we can't guarantee that. But that could be a reason, I guess, that some people are wondering why it's not.
I actually wanted to add something here because Do you remember situation when Terra Rebels, among others, were asking TFL to release the API code, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they said they needed time because there was hard-coded information there that shouldn't be public. And that might be the case here, like all, in case there are some wallet addresses used as environmental variables and things like that, they wouldn't like to release this as a part. So it's not as easy as just click one button and then suddenly everyone have access to code. There, you must make sure you don't share information that can be used by someone to, well, further harm the project.
So there could be any number of reasons, and hopefully they're all on the up and up reasons, but you know, as investigations go on, we'll find out. From what I'm understanding, after a hack, I'm being told you need to open source it for the investigations. I guess that's being a requirement from what I'm being told. Are you aware of that?
To the community, I personally doubt it, right?
I don't know if and you know, you can clarify, my friend. I don't know if he's talking about to the community or if we're talking about to anyone who is investigating. I mean, if you open source it, I guess it's to everybody, right? But I'm being told that after a hack, you have to open source it so that it can be investigated. I mean, I've never experienced that before. It's just what I'm being told.
Don't, like, I'm trying to think about this from like a logical point of view, right? And I think the only people you have to make it available to is authorities, right? Which are handling the case. I don't believe like me or you or anyone else have a right to actually ask for this code, because it's still like, if let's say authorities don't find anything in it, right? Then, well, they would just give away code they were building for months to like everyone, right?
Well, I'm getting clarification. It's saying no, not to the community.
Yeah.
But I'm also being told that the server, because this, you know, my friends kind of looked into it as well, just like you guys did. I'm being told that the server from the beginning was missing security headings or headers rather, and should be unaltered for investigators and not for, it should be altered for the investigators and not for the community. Okay. So, but do we know who's investigating this at this point? I mean, is it other than like an audit or whatever? Is Rexy investigating?
I know I think that's information I can share. I know there is a, I think it was reported to the police, but that's basically it, what I know right now, because I was just basically asked to forward the message. And but that's basically, that might be also a reason why we didn't really hear any public statement from Rexy or Terra Civita or Terraport, except those like pieces of information we got, because I think they are working with authorities to actually investigate it. So that's on their defense. They might be quiet right now because they might be told to be quiet.
I mean, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. When you say to the police, what exactly, do you know what specific authorities or where that this was reported?
I know from the information, but also I wouldn't like to disclose.
Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. All right. Also in the chat, Johnny Dapp, who is our former COC, my former COC partner, Johnny, says this is why you use a public launchpad. Then it shows all contributors and the amount of funds raised and the amount of tokens sold during the pre-sale public. I mean, you know, it's easy to look back and say we should have done it this way, we should have done it that way, and he's probably exactly right. But what we have right now, it wasn't done that way, so we have to deal with what we have. Asobs, so is that pretty much the extent of what you guys have found? At this point, we just have to get the rest of it figured out, maybe some sort of official investigation to really get the rest of the information.
Yeah, I think, well, basically I focus on code, right? The things I could find. Like we did a little bit checking up on publicly available things in smart contracts that you can just query the specific informations from it. So things like how many tokens were minted in total, what were the addresses for token allocations, but there was nothing really strange there, except that at the point where we were checking it, and that was, I think, before Easter, Thursday or Friday, I was talking with Asobs, and only thing that was strange, the contract responsible for minting didn't have a cap. So at this point, there could be minted as many tokens as they wanted. And but that's basically wasn't an issue at the moment because it was only 400, I think 37 millions in total, including the tokens which are not in a circulation right now, which are locked. So that wasn't really anything much of. There may be like a small number, but that could be also a error in our calculations. So,
Is there anything you want to add to that, Asobs?
Yeah, I think there's multiple things, in my opinion, that are concerning that not necessarily deal with the hack, but just other things in general. And I think from the hack, we'll get results or I shouldn't say results, we'll get information as to what happened once we have formal investigations by authorities, all that stuff. Did some of these other things, though, I'm wondering if we're ever going to get straight answers on, how we're going to get answers on some of these things, and how we can move forward with some of these things.
What exactly went on with this whole audit thing? I believe Rexy said something about he has proof that he paid for an audit, and then we were talking about a CERTIC audit, but nobody can find the CERTIC audit. What's up with that as far as you guys know?
Yeah, from what I know, someone talked to Rexy's. He said that he has evidence that he paid for it. I haven't seen that yet, but I'll believe him that he has evidence for now.
Paid CERTIC for an audit specifically?
That he paid for an audit. I'm not sure if it's CERTIC specifically. I know he's waiting for a CERTIC audit based on my conversations with him the other day. That again, I'll be releasing later in full so people can see. And he said within that he was expecting to have the audit come through soon. And then some other people in separate conversations were saying that supposedly if the CERTIC audit has been started, not even if it's finished, but if it's started, it should show up on the website. And people were searching Terracivita, Terraport, different terms like that, and we're not able to find anything on the website. So people were wondering, has the audit even been started? What's going on here? Maybe like a possibility is that Rexy's paid for the audit. It hasn't actually started, so it's not even on the website yet. Maybe it's backlogged, so they haven't even been able to start it yet. I don't know exactly what's going on there. That's something that we'll need to see the evidence from him about that. But as of right now, from my conversation with him and other things I've seen, the audit was not completed when they went to launch.
Yes, and also like the first information about the audit was during one of the AMAs, which happened during the sales. So if I have to guess now, around 4 or 5 weeks ago, and there was already, according to public information given by Terracivita, it was already, they were in talks with CERTIC about the audit. So I think we should see at least something on the website. But
and I'm being told that, but I know that as well. If CERTIC did an audit, you're 100% going to see it on that website. If it's not there, they didn't do it. I mean, there's really, no other kind of figuring out something different about that. Peter Sutton says, at the moment, no one has profited from the hack as stolen goods are sitting on the blockchain. Is that correct? Is there any chance that the people who lost out will ever get anything back?
There is a chance they will get it back, but cases like this, they take a long time. It's not that, for example, Rexy's message KuCoin or Max or something like, oh yeah, guys, I'm the one who got hacked. Can we get our money back? And said, like, I think it have to go through investigation, right? Every address which was part of the liquidity pool needs to be listed. Then according to how much funds was recovered, needs to be distributed. Like I also don't really know the full process, right? But it's, let's say, for example, Mt. Gox, right? But that was much more bigger hack, which happened 2012-ish, 2014.
Okay.
I think people started to receive money from that hack this year.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
And
a long
that
time.
was multiple millions, right? Here we are talking about 4 million. So, of course, it's a lot, but it's not a lot in a crypto scale. So that's really might affect also how fast the investigation go and everything. So it's really hard to say at this point. It's not gonna be fast. That's I'm 100% sure.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Go ahead, Asobs.
It seems like there's some funds that are still on just normal Terra Classic wallets. So maybe recoverable. We'll have to see what happens. And then some other funds got sent to exchanges that has been locked down. So that money should be capable of being recovered. It's just obviously going through the process then for the money that was sent to exchanges of getting it back in the right hands. It's not going to be something that probably happens tomorrow. It's probably going to take some time for that to happen. And the money that hasn't been sent to exchanges, in theory, they could just leave it there forever and it could never be recovered. Most likely, like if you're going to hack something and try and get money, you're probably going to try and access it. So hopefully when they do that, they'll slip up and we can recover the rest of the funds. Because unfortunately, this is a lot of community members that got hurt in this scenario. And that's community member funds. So hopefully we can get that restored.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Rex is in the chat. I believe this is Rex from TR. This isn't Rexy. A lot of people make that mistake. But Rex says a few members brought forward concerns about TP platform and the security risk, but nothing was done about it to prevent any possible attacks. I mean, that's kind of what we've been talking about. Yeah, it seems like some people were notified, but after that notification, I don't know what happened after that. Did somebody drop the ball? Were they trying to downplay what was going on while they fixed it? We have there's a million different things we could speculate, but bottom line is we know that they were told by several people, and now we've got a major hack that happened, so it really is unfortunate. JB says, bro, didn't you hear what Hamilton Chong said in the live today? Yeah, Hamilton was talking about he wanted $1 million, and he would figure this all out for everybody, right? And he was going to donate, I guess a large percentage of that money to some charity. I don't even know what charity it was. I didn't hear it all. But then I guess we whittled that down to $250,000. We were getting some sort of deal, I guess, which he says is his regular fee for diving in and finding out exactly who did what and when and bringing it up. Does anybody know who this guy is? Apparently, he's someone who does this for a living and has done this with some other big hack in the past. Something with Bitcoin, maybe?
I was about to ask the same because I heard him today on one of the spaces, and he definitely knows stuff he's talking about, but I never heard about him. But
first I had ever seen him was today as well, and yeah, he sounds very intelligent. But then again, everybody can sound intelligent to me because I don't know shit anyway. Asobs, do you know this guy?
I do not know who this person is now.
All right. So, basically what I was saying, because, he's made that offer and he was in a Twitter space today and they were talking quite extensively about, he says he can get right down to it. This is what he does for a living. He'll find out every single thing that there is to know. And I said, well, we got Asobs and he's pretty much trying to do that for free. So I don't know if we really want to spend 250 grand on this guy. All right. What else do we have going on here? Gevik says, in my experience, if this was a hack, then it most probably was done by exploiting what already was visible to the public. This is why we test and retest and audit code before we ship production. Yeah, you're right.
And this guy knows what he's talking about, probably.
I know that he does.
Yeah, probably one of the most experienced developers I know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, good guy. JB says the process is all the IP, IMEI is tracked forensically. Satellite triangulation involves law enforcement, worldwide jurisdictions to find the people, build a case, etc., before they are subpoena. I don't. Maybe he's responding to somebody else as far as how this is going to go down. I'm not really sure. I've got my other developer friend over here blowing my phone up. I can't even keep up with all the things that he's trying to tell me. All right. To maybe wrap it up a little bit. Final thoughts. What do you think, Asob? Where do we go from here? I mean, you know, what is the? Let me ask it to you this way. What is the impact on Terra Classic?
That's a good question. I mean, from what I can tell, there's a list of over 2,000 transactions of people buying into Terra through the different 4 rounds plus the referrals. So there's potentially thousands of community members that are being affected by this right now in terms of scale. And then in terms of other impact, that's something that I think we're gonna have to see how it plays out. Like, do people trust Terra Civita in the future? Is Terra Civita going to be able to continue running the infrastructure for Terra Class or for Station? How is that going to impact investors? We're seeing exchanges shutting down, withdrawals, things like that is happening. So there's people that are being impacted that way. Maybe you try and pull your money to one exchange and you can't now. There's a lot of things that are definitely going to be impacting the community. It's hard to really grasp the magnitude of the situation, but it's definitely going to be serious. It's going to be thousands of people affected at the end of the day here, which is, again, unfortunate that we're having that scenario. And I think going forward, I think something really important for people to consider, including myself, is people have promoted Terraport, people are part of the Terraport team, but I don't think everybody knew what was going on here. I don't expect everybody's a wizard and can tell all the code stuff that's happening in all these different smart contracts. And I don't think it's right for us to start just blaming people going, oh, you promoted Terraport, or you're part of the team, therefore you're to blame. I think the thing that we need to focus on now is how do people respond going forward? If people say, just start denying, I had no involvement, I'm not going to look into anything, well, something that should be concerning.
Yeah.
Instead, you know what? Right. Hey, this was a mistake.
I don't know if it's
something
me or
happened.
you, but you're rugging a little bit, Asobs. You're freezing up a little bit. It could be me.
Oh, am I rugging?
You're freezing up a little bit. The last few things that you said, YoGabba, you saw that, right? Was it me?
yes, I seen him ragging. So
yeah, you're freezing up just a little bit. I think we were talking about what you were talking about is that certain people, you know, that may have supported them, may be saying I don't support, never supported them, whatever. You know, we've heard a little bit of that come out, and people have pretty much been called out for it. And you know, you can get to that more if you want to, and maybe that's where you were going. I'm not sure.
Yeah, hopefully I'm not rugging anymore. Am I better now?
You sound good right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, where I was going with that though is like, if people support in the past, we shouldn't judge them based off that, in my opinion. Instead, we should go, how do they respond going forward, and whether they're willing to try and help rectify the situation and resolve the issues where people's money is at risk. That's the main thing I was trying to highlight here, is let's not focus on whether they're part of the team or promoted it, but rather how people respond going forward.
Okay, I gotcha. You're right, and obviously some people that are already in the community are going to be very much affected by this. But I guess I'm looking at I'm trying to look at the big picture. I'm trying to look long term, and I'm also looking back. Everything that has happened in Terra Classic, it feels like it's drama after drama after drama. And I'm not saying there aren't good things that are happening. There are very good things that are happening. Some people are doing some wonderful stuff. I'm very happy with what the L1 development team did. You know, that's my opinion, right? But there have been some issues, right? It has not been smooth sailing at all. And this just adds to it. We've got this thing going on with Exodus and Starship. You know, so many things that are happening. What's the future? I mean, are we going to build like this, or where do we need to get to before people are going to start saying the chain isn't broken, it's solid? That's a place that I want to go and build a project on.
like I personally think it was basically the whole decentralized community chain. It was something new. It was experiment. In my opinion, it failed. Like just no. We don't have technology to make it work without any like a single entity. So if a lot gonna change for Lunk because of this hack itself, I don't think so. But in general, the Lunk itself, in my opinion, is experiment which have to be reviewed, right? If we continue like this, then it's not gonna get far.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And if it comes to the whole hack itself, I don't plan to like say if it was an inside job or was it a hack, but in both cases, there are people who are responsible for this, and that's not only the hackers, because there was community was misinformed at some point. I don't believe Rex's had malicious intent, but his action allowed it to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you on everything you just said. And I'll start at the end and work forward. I just didn't get the feeling that there was malicious intent. I don't know if either one of you saw the video that I put out a little earlier. I was informed by Lunkburn Army that Rexy jumped on the line and got Lunkburn Army like 3 o'clock East, I believe Eastern time this morning. He got right to Lunkburn Army as soon as he knew about the hack, and asked him if he could please wake up Ed Kim or do something. Somebody get a hold of Binance, get a hold of whoever you can, so that they could head off as much damage as they could possibly head off. He kind of jumped right to it. It feels like at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you start asking people to wake up and call Binance, that feels frantic to me. You know what I mean? That feels like, holy shit, let me do something. And I don't think that someone who had malicious intent would go to those lengths. But again, that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? To me, when I heard that he jumped on, like, and he really tried to do something, I felt a little better about it. And I thought maybe Rexy is a little unaware of what exactly is going on here. Maybe he's not being told the truth, by his team. Maybe somebody's kind of, pulling the wool over his eyes. The other part of what you said that I absolutely agree with, and to be honest with you, I've been blowing this horn for months, is that decentralization, this experiment, I believe you're absolutely right. It failed. If we're using this as an example, Terra Classic, and people get so pissed at me when I say this, right? But if we're using this as an example, what are we seeing? We're seeing factions, we're seeing arguments, we're seeing this proposal get passed and then another proposal come to wipe that one out because that one sucks. And all we're doing is going back and forth. And there is, with no centralized leadership, whatever you want to call it, in the middle to say, no, this is the path we're going down, and that's it, right? Without that, I don't see how this ever changes. I don't see how we get out of this quagmire of just fighting with each other over who's right.
It's maybe if project started from scratch with proper frameworks for it to be a totally decentralized, right? Find a way for different groups of the developers to work on the code together, stuff like this, maybe that could work. But what happened in Lunk, you basically just had some random people, first TR, then L1 Task Force, now Terra Civita, and it's still, everything is around one entity, but everyone wants to manage this entity. That's not gonna work. It's not healthy for any of the, for a matter of argument, call them employees of specific organization, because basically everyone wants to micromanage your job and everyone knows better than you. Yeah. So I don't want to say we need a Senate because that was going through many times, but at least frameworks, right? To make it work, that everyone agrees. And basically, if I want to develop on Look, directly, I want to make the chain itself better. I have to follow some rules. And that's basically, I think, what we are missing.
The problem is we can't even, we wouldn't even be able to agree on what those rules would be.
Yeah.
You know, where does it start, you know? All right, Johnny, what I love about Johnny, and I don't know how many of you actually know Johnny, and Johnny is a part of Lunatics Token. He's one of the key developers there, and he was on the elected to the COC. And Johnny is very just straightforward and does not GAF what anybody thinks. He'll just say what he feels, right? So Johnny says, final thoughts. He's giving his final, I didn't ask, but he's giving his final thoughts. Final thoughts is, it's an inside job, end of story. Not saying every one of them was involved, but it's an inside job. Johnny echoes what a lot of people are feeling right now, but might be a little hesitant to just come out and say. I don't think anybody really wants to put the pin in that one, because, you know, we don't know what's really going to come up, but a lot of people are feeling that way. It just looks like it, right?
Like, I don't think we will know in coming days. For basically, I will say it respect for them. They trying. I personally don't want to give my opinion because that would be just speculation right now, but it doesn't look great.
Yeah. Things lead that way. Go ahead, Asobs.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility it's an inside job, but it's impossible for us to confirm that right now. Like anything as to that kind of a claim is speculation at this point. But there are a lot of things outside of just the pure smart contract that got hacked that just don't make sense, that there's something bigger going on here. And maybe it's inside job, maybe people made mistakes, maybe it's just a coincidence. Like there's so many possibilities. It's hard to confirm what's actually happening here, but there's definitely, in my opinion, final thoughts is like there's something bigger going on here than just a simple smart contract got hacked.
In the end, there is someone responsible for it, right? And it's no matter if it was hack or not, there is both, like, of course, hackers, well, basically stealing people money, but also people who allow it to happen. That's also a responsibility. And I think it's equal to those who actually stole the money.
Well, while you guys were kind of looking around in the code and looking at the wallets and this and that, do you know anything about this being Terraport just basically being a fork of TerraSwap?
It's looking my code. There is a lot of dependencies used, well, publicly available dependencies, of course, Terra.js and others. Like you could see basically as snippets of the code, which if you program it from scratch, it wouldn't be there because it was like a test wallet, for example. And that, like for me, it was an indication it was fork of something. But is it a fork of Terraport? That I don't know because I simply don't know Terraport code. So, but it wasn't definitely developed 100% from scratch.
Okay. Earlier, CZ put out a tweet and said basically, you know, I had my guys look into it and none of it was sent here, so there's really nothing we can do, right? Did everybody see that tweet? Pretty much, right?
Yeah, it's
I'm being told right now that, and let me make sure that I read this correctly. Binance will participate in ongoing investigations. So that's maybe not all that they're going to do. They will be actually investigating a little further on their own.
I think they have the whole department, right, which is very often helping during the hacks on different chains, even if they are not directly affected, because, well, that's basically what Binance do, right? They do a lot of things for crypto outside of the exchange. They trying to convince oh, I'm missing a word now. Well, they basically want to make crypto global, and doing that by many different ways. So that's definitely gonna help the investigation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anybody's got the resources to get to the bottom of it, I believe it's Binance, and they have been watching everything from the beginning. I mean, they're watching everything and everybody. They were watching the L1 task force. They were watching the COC. They were watching my videos. They were watching your videos, Asobs. They were, I mean, they've really, you'd be surprised at some of the Twitter spaces and stuff, or who's in those spaces. Just sitting there and lurking. From what I'm understanding, there's some Binance people in there that are listening and watching what's going on. They're very, very interested in what's happening in this chain. So it doesn't surprise me to be finding out right now from a source that I absolutely trust that they are still investigating, and they will continue to investigate. Another source is also telling me that they are extremely familiar with TerraSwap code, and they are 90% sure that it was basically a fork of TerraSwap. Again, I don't know this for sure. These are things that I'm being told. I don't even know what effect that really, if we knew that was true, what does that really mean? I don't know. I mean, so what if it is a TerraSwap fork? What does that actually mean? That it's not secure?
Basically, like almost most of the software right now is fork of something, right? At least in open source world. Of course, there are applications which are developed totally from scratch, right? But also, let's say there is an application that, for example, is not longer developed, or you want to make your own version of it because it's, for example, released on MIT license. So you basically go on a GitHub, you press a button, and suddenly you have this application on your GitHub account, and you can modify it the way you want. And that's pretty normal in software development, especially in open source world. So that's nothing really, that's not a red flag. That's normal practice.
Okay.
You just take the part of code that you can use, right? And add extra functionality, change code for your needs. And that's pretty normal stuff.
All right. Lunatic Lover, I am reading your comments, smartass. He says, DJ, I hate you shilling centralization, but I still love you. As long as you still love me, that's all that really matters. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Anything else you want to share before we go? And I've got all the time in the world, but I know that it's probably coming up on 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning where YoGabba is.
Yeah, from my side, I think that's it. I have to go sleep because I have to work tomorrow.
No worries. I thank you very, very much for being here and sharing with us where this all came from, where it all started, what it is that you've kind of looked into and discovered. I think that's information that is important for the community to know what the process has been here. There are people that are kind of looking out for you, and doing their best to dig into the information, make sure that what you're hearing and what you're seeing is accurate. And I'm grateful, and I think the whole community is actually grateful for people like you. So thank you very much. One day my bald head will look as good as yours. Oh my goodness, this guy's got the perfect head. All right, brother, get yourself some sleep, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, see you. Thanks for having me.
Have a good night. Asobs, what is going on? So what do you think? Where do we go? Should I undelegated all my lunk. It'll be free in 4 days. What should I do with it? Give me some financial advice.
Oh,
is it going to $1 or what's going on?
What's up, guys? Turtle class is going to $1. Let's talk about it today. Yeah, I don't know. It's rough. It's a hard pitch for sure, trying to get people to either come into the Channel Classic community or stay. It's a tough one, just given everything that's going on right now. So, yeah, it's hard. I think we'll have to see how things play out.
It is. It's getting hard. I mean, I was heartbroken when the Millennial Market announced that he was going to be not so much covering Luna Classic anymore. and I tried to understand. But even at that time, I was like, oh, I mean, really? You know what? I wasn't quite there yet. Now I'm understanding a lot better. It's like you said, it's a very hard sell right now. It's a very hard sell for me to sell myself. I'll be honest with you, I'm still undetermined as to what I'm doing with my bag. And Yogava got rid of his bag. A lot of people have sold their bags, and I'm not advocating and saying that anybody should sell their bag. I think that Luna Classic, I think the potential is phenomenal. If we can only pull our heads out of our asses and stop bashing each other over the head, you know what I mean? And get on one page, back each other up. It's like almost like nobody understands it. If we just back each other up, we can actually move this thing and make everybody happy. Everybody will make money. Why isn't that the goal, right? But for whatever reason, nobody seems to get that. It's more about having the power than it is making the money. And I that's where I part ways with that mentality, and I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time hanging in there. Just being honest.
Yeah, no, it's rough. I undelegated my lunk too, so we'll see what happens. I did that. When was that? Last week, I think. When the whole thing was happening with the L1 task force, I started researching some of this different stuff about Terraport, and it was just like, there's too much going on here. I need to risk management this a little bit, because unfortunately for me, right, I made a mistake. I bought more than I probably should have. So it's kind of like, okay, I need to risk management a little bit here, especially with all the insanity going on. Need to potentially sell some of it, reduce how much I'm holding. That way I can hold an appropriate amount that I feel comfortable losing if it comes to that. And that's what I would say everyone should do, is don't risk more than you're willing to lose. And risk management is an extremely important thing. And that comes down to the individual, what you're willing to lose, what you're willing to risk. And yeah, that comes down to the individual. But for me, I was looking at it and just like, you know what, I have more in this than I probably should. And I'm going to limit how much exposure I have. So have some delegations going through right now.
And a lot of people do that. We always say it all the time, and everybody knows it. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose, or that you're willing to lose, or whatever, right? But at the same time that we do that, we also give everybody all this good news and explain to them what the potential is. And so their imaginations run away with them, and everybody thinks that they're going to be a millionaire in a year. And the sad truth is, that's usually not the case. Those stories don't really happen as often as you would like to think that they happen. And so I did not invest. I could keep what I have. I could have kept it delegated. It wouldn't have fazed me. It wouldn't have changed my life whatsoever. But I also think to myself, but there are some other things that I think have potential to really move over the next year, have good potential. So why would I leave it locked up there when I can move it here, make it grow, and when Terra Classic is ready, then jump back in? And I mean, these are the things that go around in my head, and I'm like, but then again, something could happen next week, and all of a sudden the thing could skyrocket. We could hit a boom. I don't know. I would love to know exactly what I want to do, because I feel like that's what people kind of look for from me, from you. But if I'm being honest, I really don't know what to do.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. I think my mind shift has shifted the past couple of months, and I view Tuna Classic more as kind of like a lottery ticket, I guess, for myself, where it's like, I'm not going to just give away my lottery ticket and give it up, but I'm going to hold my lottery ticket, but I'm not going to go out and, take a mortgage to buy lottery tickets. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to limit my risk, but I'm viewing it as, hey, if this thing goes to zero, I'm okay losing that, right? That's the amount I'm okay losing. But if it goes well, I think Tuna Classic has the potential to make lottery type gains, like explosive beneficial gains that could make tons of money, like winning the lottery. But your probability of that happening, like you said, it's not that common. It doesn't happen that often. It's harder to accomplish. So that's personally how I'm viewing it now. So I still think there's a lot of potential. It's just the odds of that are not 100%, right? It's a shifting odds for sure.
Yeah, it seems a lot of times like, just hold on. It's going to go to if you got a certain amount, X amount, it's going to go to a penny. It's going to go to 5 cents. It's going to go to, it almost feels like a certainty. But I think when situations like this happen, reality sets in, and it's not a certainty. It's not a certainty. As a matter of fact, it's rare. right? And everybody needs to understand that. Real quick, what do you think of the revised Q1 proposal for the L1 task force?
Honestly, I got a brief chance to look through it. Haven't gone through it in depth yet. Just because
I was hoping you had, because I haven't read it at all yet.
I looked over it, but all the insanity and all the stuff I've been researching, it's been taking up more time than I probably should spend on it. And I don't want to see more people get hurt. And unfortunately, I had plans to release some of the research I was doing this week, and then the hack happened. So people got hurt that unfortunately, hopefully I was trying to save. So that kind of stinks. But anyways, as back on topic with what you're mentioning there, with the revised plan, I like the changes. I like that they're listening to feedback. I wish they had been given more opportunity, or the community had been given more opportunity to provide more feedback before it was actually put up. Maybe show, hey, here's version 2, get feedback, and then do another version if necessary.
Right.
But I am glad that some of the feedback from the community was taken seriously. So I think it's better than it was before.
What was it on? The first one was on Agora, what, 4 days? And they put it up on a vote. Was this one even on Agora for 4 days? It feels like it was.
I think it was a
like 2 days.
day and a half.
Yeah, right. And I understand. I understand. We're already in Q2. How much time are we actually going to take? We know what's at stake here. We know what they're asking for. I understand all that. And I'm looking at it real quick. Currently, it's a yes vote of 58.24%. Abstain 11.21. No is 27. No with veto 3.55. I understand that they want to get this going. Now, I haven't talked to Lunk Burn Army. Oh, I did actually talk to him, I think, briefly earlier, but not about this. He had said that he wanted to try to rally the troops and get everybody back to work Monday, whether, even before we know what's going on with the proposal, so that they didn't lose any time on, the WASM upgrade and the different very important things that really need to be worked on. Do we really want to wait another week or two until this passes and then figure it out before they get started? And so he said he wanted to try to get everybody started today. I just don't know if they've actually done that. But the other thing I look at is this. They're also not getting paid, right? There's kind of a lax. I know that when my season is over and, I've got myself set up so that I can actually collect unemployment, that couple of weeks, a few weeks or whatever that I'm waiting for that to kick in sometimes can be a little tough, right? So, is starting today, whether it passes or doesn't pass, is that so that you can go back and say, well, no, we need to start getting paid since Monday, what is today, the 9th, the 10th or whatever, because that's when we started working? Is that the reason? Or is it because, like I said, they just really want to get going on things and they don't want to lose any time? I mean, maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't know which way that would go, honestly. I think there could be arguments a lot of different ways as to how you slice that one. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways it could go. I think personally, if they're just going to get back to work before having a contract to get paid, I kind of respect that, because I don't think I'd be willing to do that personally. Just start working without getting paid, without any assurance that I could get paid. Because I mean, what is it going to be, another 5 days of voting, something like that? So you could work basically a whole week and then not get anything for it in the worst case scenario for them. So I don't know if I would personally take on that, but I can respect that they're doing it.
Well, you know what's going to happen, right? Let's say they didn't do that. Let's say they waited and saw if it passed, and then it passes, and then they get to work that next day, right? The budget is budgeted for all of Q2, right? We're already, now we're a couple of weeks into Q2. You know what's going to happen. People are going to be like,
yeah.
why are we paying you for, you didn't start until 2 or 3 weeks in. Why are we paying you for that? You owe us this, that, that's going to happen. So I wonder if it's not an attempt to kind of head that off a little bit. And I don't even know if they started today. I'm gonna try to find that out. But that was the plan.
No, that's actually a really good point. I guess the alternative that they could have done with that would have been just reduce it, make it 2.5 months of pay instead. Go that route.
Right. Yeah. And there's some carryover actually from last quarter as well that they're supposed to be submitting. I almost missed this. I didn't see it. Peter Sutton, thank you very much for that $50 super chat. That was phenomenal of you. I really do appreciate. Peter's always in my he's always in my chats. He's always in my live streams. He's someone that's been very supportive from the beginning. I just actually made him a moderator because he's just here all the time and he's a great guy. So I thank you very much for that. That was very kind and absolutely unnecessary. I got $50 worth of good information. Seems like a fair deal. Okay. If everybody felt that way, I'd retire.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure everybody who donates to DJ Trev has an extra 1% chance of Lunk going to $1. So not financial advice, but I think we got to run it up a little bit.
I'm going to change the thumbnail as soon as we get off it. We'll see. Asobs told me to. All right. I am using Rebel, much more stable and better, but many prefer not. So what will happen to endpoint on the other? Do you understand that question?
I think they're referring to Rebel Station,
right?
And then how Terra Civita is doing the endpoints for Station. I think it's unknown right now what's going to happen with Station, just because what I'm hearing is that, like, Frag, for example, he's only doing L1, so he wasn't involved in Terraport at all. And so he could still be doing all the L1 stuff, and it's not really a question as to if he was involved with the coding. Yeah, supposedly it was that, what was it, Italia group, something like that, that did the coding for Terraport. So it's like a separate thing. So yeah, we'll have to see how it pans out and how the community feels about still letting TCV run the endpoints on Station. But I would assume that it should be fine. Even if we do decide not to let them do it, someone else, I'm assuming, will step up and take over.
Yeah. Peter heard your comment and he says, crap, I should have given $1,000. It's not too late, Peter. We're still here.
Yeah, Peter.
I'll send some of it to Asobs. He deserves most of it, actually. That's where all the information came from.
If you need a Lunk address to send it to, I got one or two for you.
That's easy enough to get to you. Yeah, I got quite a bit claimed. The airdrop too. That's from LLL69. I always love when he is in the chat. It's a good buddy of mine. We don't always agree on shit, and we, go at each other back and forth. But I love the guy. He's a really big asset, I feel, in this community. So thank you for being here, and actually thank you to everybody for being here. Whenever I do these kind of spontaneous, like I text Asobs and I'm like, you want to? At first I was like, you want to go on tomorrow? We can do it between blah 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 and blah blah blah. He's like, yeah, I can make that work. And then YoGabba said, oh, if you guys want to do it right now. So I got to him and I said, or we can go on in 45 minutes. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. Right. So, whenever I do that, it's usually spontaneous like this. And so I'm very, very grateful for those of you who see the alert and jump in at the last minute like that. I really do appreciate you all. So my sincere thanks to you. Hit the like button for me if you could on the way out. If you are not subscribed to the channel, subscribe and subscribe to Asobs, because this man is the one doing he's doing the investigative work. I mean, I give you shit and everybody gives you shit about your, clickbait this and clickbait that. But the fact of the matter is, and I said this in a video, right? The fact of the matter is, you do your research. You do the research that everybody should be doing. They don't do it, so you do it for them. You're sincere, and you poke fun at that whole clickbait thing too. Everybody realize we all bitch and moan about it, but the fact of the matter is we see it and it's like, oh, what does he mean? I got to click on it, right?
Yeah.
And I've done my little experiment, and you've even shown where those titles and those thumbnails, they just get the attention of people more. And for some other people, I kind of have an issue with them doing the clickbait, because they'll do the clickbait, you'll click, and there's no substance to their video at all, right? You get nothing for it. So it was a total waste of time. Even if, we're skating on the edge of some clickbaity stuff with Asobs, when you click on that video, you're going to get some solid information. I mean, like I said, he's done his research, and he's going to tell you some things that you weren't aware of. So I don't care what his video says. I don't care what it looks like. I don't lump him in with the rest of them. I really don't. I appreciate everything that you do, my friend. I personally learn a lot from you, and I love watching your videos. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, of course. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's definitely a balancing act, right? Because it's like sometimes you need the views to pay the bills. And sometimes, like yesterday with the Terraport video, I said lunk hack in the thumbnail. And so everyone was like, I even had Vegas in there commenting, like, you should change the thumbnail. This is clickbait. This is going to scare people. And it's like, okay, yes, technically Eternal Classic was not hacked, but also if I just say Terraport has been hacked, watch now or something like that, it's going to get a fifth the number of views, which means a fifth the number of people know the important information. And so it's like in those ones, I have no problem going ham with the clickbait. And other ones where it's more like, okay, we're going to try and talk on a lighter subject, it's a little harder to justify the clickbait. I definitely can understand what you're going at there. So it's a balancing act for sure. But yeah, I appreciate all your content too. Like I find myself just listening, you know, going in the shower, and instead of throwing on a podcast or something, I'll throw on a DJ Trev video and listen to hear your thoughts as you're roasting people, calling people crybabies, whatever it is, just laying it down. So I love it.
Maybe I'll put out a video or two of doing some karaoke so you can listen to some music when you're in the shower.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, brother. I will talk to you soon. I'm going to let you be about your business. Go continue all that research for us. We really appreciate it. It was an absolute pleasure. Second time we've done this, but we should do it more when we can. And have a good night.
You too. Have a good night, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. All right, talk to you soon. Everybody in the chat, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate you. And go and subscribe to this man's channel. I would imagine everybody in my chat's already subscribed to you, but on the off chance somebody isn't, go and subscribe to Asobs because it'll really do well for you if you do. All right, talk to everybody later. Have a good one. Ciao.